Today, we'll be talking about the future of physical media. So, of course, physical media is not just DVDs and Blu-rays. That the physical media, which we're also going to be including books as well, print books as well, because print books books are the oldest form of physical media as well. Okay, print books. We'll be going over all the forms of social physical media. I already talked about Blu-ray and DVDs to death, so I'm not going to mention them much in this video. I already talked about them earlier. But yeah, physical media is currently declining. Okay, currently declining, especially with games, movies as well. Okay, and the end, and of course, gaming I think is gonna be the most affected medium by the digital, you know, the obsession with digital. Okay, and sometimes the obsession with digital can be reversed. Obviously, and we'll talk about that later. Okay, physical media and games has been declining. Outside of Nintendo has stayed relatively stable, but for every other studio, it has just been declining as well. Also, with the declining quality of games as well, which is no one's surprise. People are buying less games because they're more expensive. The decline in quality as well. But look at this one here. Games have still increased in sales. Games have stayed stagnant, but physical games have declined, but digital games have sold relatively the same. Of course, this includes indie games, which indie games benefit the most from digital as well, because indie games mostly release digital as well. But physical plus digital, digital exclusive, physical plus digital, this entire thing is declining as well. You can see this here with physical games. Digital has not really changed with all the developers, but again, I think the digital is declining because of the lack of quality of games, okay? You gotta look at the quality of games, okay? But digital still increased. Probably, maybe there were more indie games released in 2021 that were successful. You did have Among Us release, okay? So 2021 they could include that game like Among Us, okay? That game was a pretty successful game, but physical PC games, even physical PC games, like physical PC games used to be a big thing until Steam came along. Steam killed physical PC games. I wonder if physical PC games will ever make a comeback, because physical PC games still exist. They're still being made, obviously. Ghostwire Tokyo got a new game, okay? Amazon, of course, is the best reliable source for physical, PC games, obviously. But all the games of the physical PC games are still a digital code. So there's really no point in buying these games on physical. Okay, there was literally no point in buying these games on physical as well. And I think gaming is the most doomed of them all. Okay, gaming is the most doomed of them all. Because newer games, there will be no point buying newer games if every game is just a code and a box. Okay, every game is just a code and a box. Okay, now, and maybe one day physical games will receive a revival, just like how vinyl, got a revival. Okay, but yeah, physical games for PC is kind of pointless now because they're basically just codes in a box. Okay, and I think with the recent rumors of what EA has said they were doing, they said they're not gonna do it, and what Bethesda is doing, they're going to basically do the same thing that PC games are doing. I think it's gonna be the same thing with physical games on PC. It's just gonna be a code, and you have to redeem the code, which will suck, and it'll be horrible, and it'll really kill gaming as a whole. I think the only company that is really going to keep alive the physical games is Nintendo. Okay, Nintendo, of course, most of the big games come out physically. All the big games come out physically. Of course, the small games they release digitally as well. But most of the games that sell better, the Nintendo puts that sells better, are usually games that release physically. Okay. Nintendo games that sell a lot of copies as well. They sell a lot of copies, as well. And Nintendo Switch, the biggest market for physical games now is just Nintendo. Okay. Nintendo Switch games sell way more copies physically than any other studio and any other company. Okay, and Nintendo gamers are the most collector of them all. They're the most collectors of them all. The most amount of people who collect video games physically are Nintendo fans. There's such a big group of people who collect Wii U games, Wii games, DS games, Game Boy games, Game Boy Advance games, 3DS games, okay, GameCube, N64, NES, and SNES games as well, and of course Nintendo Switch games. Okay, a lot of people like collecting Switch games. Okay, it's probably the biggest. And Nintendo fans, they have always just liked to collect the games on the console, and I think Nintendo is going to continue producing games on physical for a while because they know that their fans love collecting the games. And again, Nintendo games don't come with a code, come with a manual. But even if you look at, if you buy the games that were made by Nintendo, they really put like love and care into the physical games. Like they put, for example, Origami King, Kirby and stuff. It's kind of like how the steelbooks are for Blu-rays. They put details inside the box as well. They put stuff in the details, which I don't think any other company really does that as well. No other company does that as well, as well. And I think Nintendo, games sell physically most on Nintendo Switch. All you have to look at is the Japanese sales for games, which they track physical sales. And outside of Nintendo, which has been doing extremely well with physical copies in Japan, Sony is not really selling that many physical copies compared to Nintendo. Okay, and we all know this. Nintendo, for example, Nintendo dominates every physical chart. And I've been saying, it's because nobody's buying the PS5, but the PS5 sold 3 million copies. It is because a lot of people on PlayStation have abandoned physical copies. And you can download games on Nintendo Switch. Okay, and you can get expansive packs if you're really a digital person, but again, I think this Nintendo fans are different than other console fans. Okay, Nintendo fans have always been the collectors. Okay, and I think that's not going to change, and I think Nintendo's not going to change their strategy for a while. Okay, because Nintendo is Nintendo. They're going to stay the way they are until something changes as well. I think Nintendo will be the company to bring back physical games, even if physical games die out. But we're done talking about physical games. Let's talk about books. Yes, as much as I don't like books, okay, I think reading books are boring, okay, as well. I get it as well. But the book industry is another industry as well. Okay, that is declining. Even my own parents read digital books now, and abandoning physical books in favor of digital books. Okay, and use of print book sales went down for 4.8%. Same thing in the newspaper, physical newspapers as well. Physical newspapers you can say as well. But books are basically the oldest form of physical media out there. And even physical books, are declining. Okay. As well. And you can see here that there is a decline. There was a pandemic bump, but there has been a decline since the pandemic bump as well. Okay. But physical books have been, basically, if you think about it, kind of stagnant here. But they have been declining. They actually increase, and then they decline, and then they increase again. So physical book sales, I would consider to be stable. Okay, they're stable. Despite the rise of ebooks, physical books, I think, are the best-selling sales. And the book industry is not really declining, they're just basically filling. And I think, of all people, book collectors, I think, are the biggest fans of physical media out there. Okay, yes, it's not the disc, but it's still a physical form. It is still a physical form that, they have tried to replace the digital books. But most people who like this physical books like smelling the book. Yeah, that's one of the big things. Like smelling the book, like feeling the book. Like the whole entirety of physicalness of the book. And many people, especially old people, love physical books. Many young people like digital books, but a lot of old people and a lot of people overall, readers feel more emotionally attached to physical books. Without books, they can sell over ebooks and feel more emotionally attached to physical books. But there's another form of physical media that has been rising throughout the past decade as well. If you did not know, music, obviously, physical music has been seeing a revival. So we all know the vinyl revival, okay? The revival of physical media in music, okay? This is something that is huge, and it's continuing. It's not going as fast as it used to anymore, because of course, as more people buy it. But we got this here. You have vinyl, cassettes, CDs, MP3s, and streaming. Streaming still takes up most of the. But again, vinyl is something that's very old, and vinyl died in the 80s and got replaced by cassettes, which got replaced by CDs, which got replaced by MP3 players, which got replaced by streaming. Okay, and streaming, I think, will always have its place and music, obviously. Streaming will always have its place. For example, if you want to listen to songs at work, you can't really get a cassette or a, vinyl player and play it at work unless the workplace has a vinyl player. Okay, same thing with CDs. You can't really bring a CD player to work. So, same thing with, for example, but again, at home, that's where physical songs are making a comeback. Physical music is making a comeback. Comeback from near extinction. Okay. This was a form of physical media that was nearing extinction. That was an extremely niche form of music. Okay. Here. For example, this is the revival in the UK, of course, went from 220,000 units to basically 4 million. Okay. Yeah. And of course, it's nowhere near the sales that it used to be. Okay, it's nowhere near the sales it used to be. Because, of course, it's CDs now. But vinyl is the second most popular music format now. It is the second most popular. Went from being a dead format to being the second most popular format. Okay, and now we even have CDs starting to come back as well. And this is surprising. Why? And not surprised at the same time. It's surprising considering the fact that, streaming exists. Okay, why would you go all your way to get a record where you can just go on your phone and put a song on? But I think the reason why vinyl is getting a resurgence, just like how ebooks have basically never defeated physical books, is because people love the physicality of records. And it's not just old people as well. Okay? It is not just old people. It is not just old people. The next generation of people. Retro people, obviously, as well. And I think this could also be a resurgence in retro games as well. Okay, the sale of retro games, the sale of retro video games, which will probably have stuff like companies like Limited Run Games and similar businesses recreate and even Nintendo try to bring back retro games if Nintendo probably realizes that there's a potential for younger people, especially people who grew up in the 90s and 80s, and of course Gen Zs, and now Gen Alpha. Gen Alpha is 10 years old to 10-year-olds, but they don't really have anything. They're not really old enough. But Gen Z, millennials, as well. And most of the people who said the reason why, 50 years later, last thing a young person will be put on the center list will be a vinyl record, but you'll be wrong. Next generation is discovering the joys of vinyl, like older things, old movies, and music. There is a lot of retro people going now becoming as well. But I think the main reason why vinyl has made a resurgence, it is because a lot of people like the physicality of the vinyl records. And I think that's also the reason why CDs are starting to make a comeback as well. CDs. Okay, CDs are seen, like with vinyl, is seen by the post-human futurists as outdated. That's like how gaming companies view 2D games. Okay, for a while, video game companies viewed 2D games as just a stepping stone into 3D. That it was unnecessary to put a game in 2D if you're going to make it 3D. Okay, was killed several game franchises as well. But the whole vinyl revival is proof that digital will never win outright against everybody. Okay, and it's thus not. And of course, vinyl sales have grown massively. Okay, and it's young people that are mostly, you know, pushing this here as well. This is a lot of sales, and this is supposed to be the iPod streaming, the iPod Spotify generation, and the fact that young people are bringing back vinyl. Okay, it shows you that. And also, I think that physical media is coming back out of necessity as well. Okay, as of stuff like digital IDs might be coming around the corner, you have rocking your favorite songs behind a paywall. Obviously, I think a lot of people are going to be turning back to physical media. You can even see the same thing about DVDs and Blu-rays. A lot of people are starting to reconsider their abandonment of Blu-rays and DVDs. Of course, I have never abandoned physical Blu-rays and DVDs. I still buy movies on physical DVD, even though it's much more expensive and much less convenient than getting a movie on on digital, on streaming. Oh, why are you buying why did he buy the Santa movie on disc? Why did he buy it on disc? Why would he get the movie on disc? But the reason why I like movies on disc is mostly because of nostalgia. I have the nostalgia of playing, Disney DVDs, especially at my grandma's house, and dinosaur movies and stuff. And if I ever have kids in the future, I want them to experience the same stuff that I do. I think we'll probably see the same thing with DVDs and Blu-rays. Not those people like me, the Gen Zs and older and younger millennials that will probably drive a resurgence in physical DVD and Blu-ray sales, just like how vinyl got a resurgence and CDs are not getting a resurgence. Nostalgia is one of the most powerful things in the world. Okay, that's why retro games are seeing a resurgence in sales. And I think there's going to be now secondhand companies. That's why, for example, the rarest game in the world, one of the rarest games, Earthbound, have basically become really cheap because secondhand makers are basically making Earthbound cartridges accessible for people who want to play the game on the original console to preserve the game as well. To preserve the game, obviously. And vinyl is becoming popular because people want the physical version of a song, of an album, of music, okay, as well. They want to have the physical record. They want to have the physical copy of the record, because who knows what happens with the internet. The internet could go out tomorrow, and poof, there goes all of your streaming. That's like, for example, if the internet goes tomorrow, I can still watch movies, even new movies, for example, movies like Black Widow, if I wanted to, without having to ever subscribe to Disney Plus. Okay, I am not a very big fan of streaming services all too much. Okay, I think streaming services are not good. Okay, I think that that streaming will eventually collapse, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. I think streaming will eventually collapse. But I think we're starting with physical music. Despite the age of digital music, we're seeing a revival of physical music like never before. Okay, and it's funny when I talk about physical media, I talked about physical copies of things. I'm surprised I didn't even know about the revival of vinyl until very recently when I went to Walmart and I was like, why are these giant records at Walmart? How are these at Walmart? Isn't this like old people stuff? That's why I first saw like, why is this here? Okay, why is this here? Okay, it was right by the movie and games section, and there was a whole section dedicated, and that wasn't there until this year. Even like stuff like Walmart are now starting to take notice of the revival of physical disc as well. The physical disc and music. And I think we're gonna I think in the future we'll probably see that with Blu-rays and DVDs and physical game sales, especially retro games. And we're gonna have a whole amount of publishers that'll probably make deals with Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft to purchase physical retro games so collectors can have all of their favorite games without, worrying that there might be the last Super Mario Bros. Copy in existence as well. the last copy of Super Mario Bros. You don't want to have fight over that, or the last copies of Earthbound. Some of the rarest games out there. Same for the Sega Genesis. They were, in Brazil, they're still producing Sega Genesises and Sega Mega Drives. In Brazil and Latin America. Okay. And last year, the first vinyl in a while has reached 1 million copies. This is Taylor Swift's Midnight Couple. No, Midnight as well. But with vinyls, I think you might see a slowdown in sales because they're getting more and more expensive. And of course, the economy is getting worse and worse. But as well, I think there's a reason why. And I think a large part of the reason why vinyl is coming back is the internet. Okay? And I think we might start to see that with other forms of physical media as well. Right after. Because there's a lot of channels, a lot of YouTube channels that are basically dedicated to vinyls, records, and buying records and unboxing records as well. And you're starting to see the rise of Blu-ray channels as well. There are channels that will talk about Blu-rays and physical media with hundreds of thousands of subscribers now. Starting with hundreds of thousands, they're even reaching hundreds of thousands of subscribers now. So much for a dead format, obviously, But for a while, physical movies will be in the hands of collectors like me. Amazon will, of course, still continue producing Blu-rays and DVDs, which I think Amazon will be the primary source of physical media until physical media gets a resurgence in popularity in movies and TV. Okay, books have stayed steady despite the whole digital books existing. You still have, books everywhere and stores, especially manga. Okay, and we haven't even talked about manga. Okay, manga is easily probably the most popular form of books. Besides, your standard book. Manga, okay, look at Barnes and Noble. Okay, look at places like Barnes and Noble. Someone went to a Barnes and Noble, which is a physical bookstore, and they had shelves upon shelves upon shelves of manga. Okay, yeah, we're talking about books again. Okay, we're talking about books again. But I think the one thing that is really driving the surge in physical sales for books is manga. And I think it's because manga fans, of all people, are physical book fans. I don't think that's ever going to change either. Okay? Manga fans are collectors. Okay? You'll start with the first volume, and then you like the first volume, you'll go back and get the second volume, and then go back and get all the volumes until you have the whole set of manga. And yeah, manga fans, I think, are the biggest collectors of them all. Okay, besides, I think them and Nintendo gamers are the biggest of them all. Okay, and manga is kind of like an addiction. Okay, once you reach one manga, okay, I don't collect manga, but most people, once they read like one manga, they're gonna get all of it. They're gonna get, the whole series of that one they like. For example, JoJo, Demon Slayer, Dragon Ball. And they're gonna get Naruto. They're gonna get One Piece. They're gonna get JoJo. They're gonna get Chainsaw Man. They're gonna get Demon Slayer. And it's basically a slippery slope that they're gonna go down. And then you become full weeaboo. But yeah, manga, everywhere you go, every country you go, France, UK, USA, Canada, Australia, bookstores are basically becoming manga stores. Okay? There's still old-fashioned books for most people, but I think the reason why physical book sales have not died is because of manga. It is because of manga. Comics are dead, okay, but manga is not. Manga is like outselling comics like 10-1, okay? As well, and despite the whole idea of digital books, okay, all of the best-selling comics of all time is manga. Okay, because of how popular manga is. Like, you have to, this bullshit of best-selling comic books of all time excludes manga, which is very disrespectful, because the best-selling One Piece, the best-selling comic books of all time is One Piece. Okay, it is not any Western comic book. They have Asterix, Peanuts, Go-Go 14, which I think it's another Japanese. It sounds Japanese, but it might be Korean as well. Lucky Duke, Doraemon, another Japanese. Manga, Dragon Ball, Naruto, two of the big three, Case Closed. And you'll get a lot of these. There's a lot of mangas here. It's not Batman. No Batman. Okay. Superman is the best-selling comic book series, with 600 million. And One Piece will probably eventually outsell every Superman comic ever sold. One Piece has already outsold every Batman comic ever produced. Okay, One Piece is more popular than Batman. Yes, One Piece, in terms of comics, is more popular than Batman. And Batman and Superman have been around since the 1930s. Okay, One Piece has been around since 1997, and One Piece has outsold. Which means, yes, Luffy, the main character of One Piece, is more iconic than Batman as well. But there's a reason why. Manga is basically keeping physical book sales alive. Why is manga becoming so popular as well? Why is we got the best-selling comic books of all time? Over the past years, they really have to exclude manga because comic book creators are embarrassed that manga is selling so well. Why, if you go to Barnes and Noble, there's only 2 sellers dedicated to comic books, but there's whole entire sellers. There was another one in France. Well, it's a bookstore, but half of the books are manga. Okay, manga I think is keeping physical books alive. Obviously, physical printed books. Half of the physical printed books are probably manga alone. Okay, and the rest is mostly normal books, and like probably the teensy bit is probably, comic books and other niche forms of books. Okay, as well. But yeah, manga is probably the best selling books of all time. Okay. Graphic novels. Look at April here. And this is the sales. We can look at the sales of manga here. Of all comic books. Okay. What are the best selling comic books of all? Chainsaw Man, Moon Knight because of the... But yeah, I have Chainsaw Man as well. Chainsaw Man Volume 1. Okay. Reckless Volume 2, Ghost in UGC, House of Slaughter, Something is Killing the Children Volume 1, Moon Knight Legacy Complete Collection, and that is because of and Sandman Volume 1, Night's House of Wake. And these are all Volume 1s, and Chainsaw Man's on Volume 10. Okay, they go further down as well. You have Spy X Family and Saga as well. And this is not, I don't think this is even including, Chainsaw Man Volume 1, My Hero Academia, okay, as well. But again, unlike comic books, most of these are going to drop. Most of the comic books are going to drop, but manga is going to have the legs. There's a reason why you look at Barnes and Noble, okay, as well. Why are manga outselling comics? Okay, as well. And I think this is only going to continue in the future. Manga, I think it's going to be the main thing that's going to keep physical collecting alive. Because manga is not going anywhere anytime soon. Even if ebooks become more and more popular in the next decade. Physical manga sales are not going to go anywhere. There's still going to be tons of weebs collecting manga. Okay? And I don't think Blu-rays and DVDs are going to go anywhere. The thing I'm most concerned about is physical games. Okay? Being replaced with codes. Okay? Again, that's only going to fuel people who want to collect games to buy older games. And you're going to start having companies, especially Nintendo, say, hey, there's a lot of people who actually collect our older games. Why don't we just re-release our older games, for example, in a, Nintendo Select something, at least the Nintendo games, so people could get these older games to collect them. I would be surprised if Nintendo does something like that in the future. I really would not be shocked if Nintendo re-releases GameCube games on Amazon, re-releases GameCube games to be bought from their website, say for your DS games, say for your Wii games, because Nintendo is a company that is most empowered by nostalgia. They're the most popular because of nostalgia. Okay. Manga, Demon Slayer manga outsources the entire comic book industry. Okay. Chainsaw Man outsources the entire comic book industry. Okay. As well. And the future of comics is manga. And comics really killed themselves. Unless comic books were born from manga, I don't think comic book sales are coming back anytime soon. As well. And we can make a dedicated whole video to itself about that, but we won't talk about that. But yeah, that's the future of physical media. I'm not worried for all physical media except for video games. Okay, CDs and vinyl on the comeback. People finally starting to reconsider streaming. I think we might see a resurgence in DVDs and Blu-rays. Okay, and and of course, manga is basically becoming so popular that Barnes and Noble is really it's really now the biggest section, and many bookstores is manga. Okay, and even physical books, like physical books have been staying the same. Probably other physical books that isn't manga are probably declining, but manga is keeping the physical books alive, basically. And that's the result of this video here. Goodbye.